Hi, you're on the Reddit Confessions channel. The last thing I expected that morning was to hear her laugh. Not because something was funny, but because she had just silenced my voice with 6 words. I remember them exactly. They came out of her mouth like a reflex. Get off me, you're annoying. And all I'd done was hug her. She didn't even look up from her phone. Didn't care that I was shaking. Didn't notice that my hands smelled like motor oil because I'd been fixing her brakes in the cold for 3 hours. I was freezing, starving, and still, I thought maybe a hug would feel like home. Instead, I got that. So I didn't say anything. Not yet. I just stood there for a moment, blinking like an idiot, then went to the kitchen and made her coffee. Decaf, oat milk, 2 stevia, just how she liked it. She didn't drink it. Later that day, I was in the garage trying to scrub the oil out of my shirt with a toothbrush because we couldn't afford dry cleaning anymore. She walked in like a storm. No apology, no warmth. Just this fake sweet voice saying, "Hey babe, can I borrow your wallet real quick?" That's when I looked at her. Really looked. And something in me finally cracked. I didn't raise my voice. Didn't curse. I just gave her the same energy back. Get off me. You're annoying. And I swear, her face twitched like I'd slapped her with a frying pan. She scoffed, rolled her eyes, said something like, "Oh, you're so dramatic." But I could tell that hit her. And maybe for the first time in months, she felt a sliver of what I'd been swallowing for years. But it didn't stop there. Later that night, I heard her whispering on the phone. She thought I was asleep. She said, "Yeah, I'll be packed by Friday." No, he still doesn't have a clue. She laughed, softly, like she was proud. I laid there in the dark, staring at the ceiling, holding the pillow like a shield. And I knew right then, something was coming. And I wasn't ready. I don't know what possessed me to check her suitcase. Maybe it was instinct. Maybe it was desperation. Maybe it was the fact that she hadn't smiled at me in 4 months unless I was holding something made of plastic and had a balance over 3 digits. She said she was going to the spa with friends. That was the script she always gave. Self-care weekend. Like I was the sickness. But here's the thing. Sarah never folded her clothes. Never. She tossed them in like she was stuffing a trash bag. But this time, folded. Color-coded. 2 different sets of heels. A lace set I hadn't seen in years. And then, in the side pocket, a black box with a receipt still inside. It wasn't for a spa. It was a hotel. In another city. And only one name was on the reservation. His Jace Montgomery. Who the hell is Jace Montgomery? I Googled him in the bathroom with the door locked. My fingers were trembling. Turns out he's not her old friend. He's not her coworker. He's not her anything that she ever mentioned. But he is someone who leaves heart emojis on her deleted Instagram posts, the ones I never got to see. And he owns a car restoration shop 2 towns over. So I guess that's where all the missing gas money went. She came into the room a minute later, wrapped in a towel, humming, like she didn't just lie to my face 3 nights in a row. "You okay?" she asked, brushing her damp hair. I looked at her, really looked, and said, "Yeah, just thinking about how much I love surprises." She smiled. God help me, she smiled. And I almost hated myself more than I hated her in that moment, because I still wanted her to love me back. But something snapped that night. I didn't confront her. I didn't scream. I just started collecting facts. Quietly, like a coward, maybe. Or maybe like a man who's been ignored for so long. He learned how to disappear without moving an inch. I started reading all the signs I had ignored before. All the weekends she came home without makeup but with guilt in her eyes. All the dead phone batteries. All the cold shoulders followed by wallet warmth. And still, I hoped I was wrong. But the next morning, she forgot to sign out of her iPad. And what I saw there, that's when my knees gave out. I used to think the worst sound in a house was silence. Turns out, it's the soft ding of your wife's tablet syncing with her phone. And you seeing the truth scroll in, 1 bubble at a time. I was folding laundry when it happened. Not my best chore, but I try. I was trying to match her socks. She likes them color-coded. God forbid I mix beige with cream. When I noticed her iPad screen blinked on the kitchen counter. She never uses it, Probably forgot she even had it connected to her messages. But I didn't. At first, I wasn't even snooping. I was just curious, maybe even hopeful. Maybe it was a sweet message from her spa friend saying, "Hope you're having fun, girl." Instead, the first line I read said, "Room 608 is booked. Can't wait to taste you again." I don't remember sitting down, but suddenly I was at the kitchen table, heart thudding in my ears like a marching band. Message after message popped up. Not one, not two, dozens. Photos, videos, things I didn't even know she liked. Things she said she hated when I tried to be romantic. He called her Peach. She called him Jay. They had code words for locations, nicknames for me. One message said, "Wendell's probably at home cleaning again. Bless his boring little heart." I felt sick, not just from the cheating, but from the mockery. She wasn't just lying to me. She was performing it, like I was the punchline in some private comedy show. And worst of all, I had paid for the ticket. Every hotel, every rideshare, every dinner, it all came from my account. She had once cried in my arms over bills, said I was her rock, said I made her feel safe. Turns out, I was just her fool in a flannel shirt. And still, I didn't confront her. Instead, I took a screenshot of every message, every photo, every video. I backed it up twice. One in a USB, one in a locked cloud folder she didn't know existed. Then I placed the iPad back exactly where she left it. Open laundry basket and all. That night, she asked if I could pick her up from the station when she got back from the spa. I said yes. I already had a plan. She texted me 3 minutes before her train arrived. "Be there in 10. Not a heart emoji, not even a thank you. Just a cold instruction. I stood by my car outside the station, hands in my jacket, heart pacing like it knew what was coming. I had already cleaned the passenger seat, turned off the radio, and placed her favorite iced coffee in the cup holder like a trained golden retriever hoping for a pat. The train screeched in. I spotted her through the crowd. Sunglasses on, scarf wrapped neatly, pulling a floral suitcase I'd bought her last Christmas. For a split second, she looked like the same woman I married, until she waved at me, with a phone still in her other hand, smiling at someone behind her. She didn't know I'd already seen the texts from that same phone. She climbed in, pecked my cheek like it meant nothing, and said, "Thanks, babe, you're the best." Then she sighed dramatically, like she'd just returned from a soul-crushing business trip. Ugh, the spa was so crowded. Remind me never to let Rachel plan anything again. I nodded, pretending I believed her, pretending I hadn't memorized every word she'd sent to Jay, pretending I hadn't already tracked the hotel to a spot nowhere near the spa. "Oh," I said casually, hands tight on the wheel. "So Rachel was with you the whole time?" She hesitated. "Yeah, most of it." She was lying. Rachel had posted a story that weekend from a wine tasting in Vermont. And we live in Ohio. I kept driving, letting her dig the hole deeper. She rambled about mud masks and overpriced smoothies, even threw in a fake group yoga disaster for flavor. I laughed when appropriate. I asked follow-up questions. I even offered to rub her shoulders when we got home. She bought every word. But I wasn't driving home. 10 minutes later, I turned off the usual route. She noticed. "Wait, where are we going?" I smiled at her, really smiled, and said, "Just thought you'd want to stop by your friend Jace's shop. You left your scarf in his hotel room." She went white, like bone-deep, stomach-drop, can't-swallow kind of white. She didn't speak. She didn't have to. We had finally arrived at the first honest moment of our marriage in months, and all it took was me pretending I knew nothing. Until now. She didn't say a word for the rest of the ride. Not one syllable. Her jaw was locked, her phone held tight in her lap like it was a grenade she was afraid to drop. I didn't even bother playing music. The silence between us was louder than any screaming match could have been. I drove slow, deliberately slow, watching her stare straight ahead like a hostage plotting an escape. When we finally pulled into the gravel lot behind Jace Montgomery's auto shop, she blinked fast like she was waking from a dream, or maybe a nightmare. The kind where the walls close in, and the person you were lying to suddenly stops playing dumb. She whispered, Why are we here? Voice soft, small. I parked, turned the engine off, and handed her the printout I'd folded in my jacket pocket. The hotel confirmation with Jace's name on it, the timestamp messages from the iPad, even a screenshot of the room service charge, 2 steaks, champagne, and a dessert labeled peach cobbler. I watched her read it. Her hand trembled. Her eyes didn't blink. You told him your favorite dessert was peach cobbler, I said, smiling so wide it hurt. You told me it made you nauseous. She slowly opened the car door and stepped out. But as her heels hit the gravel, the front door of the shop opened. And there he was, Jace, taller than me, more tan, wearing a black tee smeared with grease and arrogance. He was laughing with one of his guys, holding a wrench like it was an accessory to his charm. He hadn't seen us yet. I watched Sarah take one shaky step forward, and then stop, completely freeze, like her brain couldn't decide if she should run, lie, cry, or throw up. I got out too, casually, walked up beside her and said, "Go on, say hi. I'm sure he's missed you since checkout." She finally turned to me, voice sharp and low. "You had no right to go through my things, and that was it. Not, I'm sorry. Not, let me explain. Just that." I stepped back and laughed, not because it was funny, but because that was the exact moment I knew I was done begging to matter. "You're right," I told her. "But now you've got 2 choices. Either walk inside and own it, or get back in the car and explain everything to my lawyer." For a few long seconds, Sarah just stood there like a glitch in the middle of a bad dream. She didn't walk toward him, didn't move, just stared at Jace like seeing him in daylight changed everything. And maybe it did. It's easy to love someone in hotel shadows. Harder when they're wiping their nose with a greasy shop rag. Then he noticed us. Jace lifted his head, squinted, and smirked like he'd forgotten my face but recognized hers instantly. He gave her a cocky wave. "Hey, Peach." The way her entire spine recoiled, I'll never forget it. Like someone had dumped a bucket of shame over her skin. I stepped forward first. Calm. Not angry. Just ready. "Jace Montgomery?" I asked. He looked confused for half a second, then put the name together with my face. "Oh," he said. "You're Wendell." He didn't even pretend to be embarrassed. No apology. No awkward silence. He just looked me dead in the eyes and said, "No hard feelings, man. She told me you two were pretty much done." My stomach twisted. Sarah gasped softly behind me. The sound of someone caught in their own web. "She said what?" I asked, though I already knew the answer. I wanted her to hear it out loud. From his mouth. In broad daylight. He shrugged. "That the marriage was over. That you were just roommates who didn't know how to quit." I figured it was mutual. I turned to Sarah. She was frozen. Eyes wide. Lips parted but silent. "That true?" I asked her. "You told him we were done? Before you told me?" She finally spoke, voice brittle. "It was complicated, Wendell." "No," I said. "It was cowardly." Then I turned back to Jace and did something I never thought I'd do. I thanked him. I actually said, "Thanks for telling the truth. You just saved me another year of trying." He blinked. "Wait, what?" I walked back to the car, opened the trunk, and pulled out a folder, neatly labeled with my lawyer's business card clipped to the front. "These are signed," I said, placing them in Sarah's hands. "I didn't bring you here for drama. I brought you here for closure." She stood there, mouth open, watching me walk away like I was some ghost she didn't know how to hold anymore. And maybe I was. I wasn't expecting her that night. I truly thought she'd stay with him. After everything, the texts, the hotel, the smug look on his face. I figured she'd walk right back into his arms and keep pretending I'd been the mistake. But around 10:14 p.m., there was a knock at the door. Not a buzz, not a text, not even a warning. Just 3 slow knocks. The kind that carry hesitation. I opened the door and saw her standing there. No makeup, hair in a mess, mascara stains under her eyes. She was clutching something. Not a purse, not a phone, a thick envelope. She didn't say anything, just pushed it toward me with both hands like it weighed more than it looked. I stared at it, then at her. "What's this?" I asked, barely hiding the exhaustion in my voice. She sniffled, then whispered, "I ended it with him. He didn't know about this." I opened the envelope right there in the doorway. Photos. Old ones. Together. Vacations. Christmas mornings. A concert we couldn't afford but went to anyway. One photo had her scribbled handwriting on the back. "You're still my favorite place to come home to." Behind the photos was a notebook page. A single sentence scrawled in blue ink. "I forgot what we had until I saw it in my drawer." I leaned against the doorframe. I didn't know whether to be angry, confused, or just numb. She stepped forward. "I'm not asking for a second chance. I just didn't want the last thing you remembered about us to be a lie." "That's not how memory works," I said quietly. "You don't get to rewrite it." She nodded, then wiped her eyes with her sleeve. "I know, but I still needed to try. I should have closed the door. Should have said goodnight and walked away with whatever was left of my dignity. But I let her sit on the couch. We didn't talk much, just sat there with the weight of everything pressing between us. At one point, she looked over at me and said, "He called me Peach because I told him you hated peaches. I thought I was being clever. Now I just feel rotten." For the first time, I didn't interrupt her. I just listened. She stayed for 2 hours. Didn't ask for anything. Didn't try to touch me. Just left quietly. And I sat there staring at the photos, realizing that sometimes the worst betrayal isn't what they do. It's when they remember the good parts only after they've destroyed them. A week passed after that night. I didn't call her. She didn't text. The photos stayed in the envelope on the kitchen counter like a weight I wasn't ready to move. Every morning, I saw them. A reminder of what we were before things got messy, before trust turned to suspicion and love into obligation. I kept asking myself, did she come back because she missed me, or because she had nowhere else to go? Then, out of the blue, I got a letter, handwritten, folded carefully, left in the mailbox without postage. Just my name on the front, Wendell. Inside it said, "I lied to you. I didn't just forget what we had. I took it for granted. You were never boring. You were steady. I confused peace with silence. I confused comfort with routine. I let someone else tell me what passion was supposed to feel like, and it left me hollow. You didn't fail me. I failed us. If you never want to see me again, I'll understand. But thank you for once loving me so much that it still hurts. Sarah." I folded the letter, breathed deep, and finally realized I wasn't angry anymore. I wasn't desperate or hopeful or lost. I was okay. So I mailed her something back. Just a postcard with a photo of the lake we once visited on our anniversary. I wrote, "You were my favorite chapter, but I've started a new one." It wasn't revenge. It wasn't forgiveness. It was peace. 3 months later, I adopted a dog from a shelter, named her Clementine. She doesn't talk back. She doesn't lie. But every time I walk through the door, she's thrilled I'm home. And for now, that's enough. I still believe in love. But this time, I'm not giving it away so easily. I'll wait for someone who hugs me back and never tells me I'm annoying for doing it. Thanks for listening to my story. Now it's your turn. Tell us in the comments. Have you ever let go of someone not out of anger, but to finally find peace? Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video if it resonated with you. You're on Reddit Confessions, where every heartbreak has a heartbeat, and sometimes, a new beginning.